I said, what's in your instant response plan? And she said, ain't none of that crap working. She said, everything we had on paper is none of it's working.
Wait, we've heard this before. You know?
You're listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, where HIPAA and humor collide to make learning fun. Your delightful hosts are Donna Grindle and David Sims. Relax, HIPAA help is on the way.
Welcome to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast. My name is David Sims of HIPAA for MSPs, and joining me is Donna Grindle of Carden. What's up? Yeah, on location, another undisclosed place somewhere south of the tip of Florida.
90 miles from Cuba, buddy. 90 miles from Cuba.
Oh, that's swimming distance. You need to get started.
Hey, you know, what was her name? Diana, the swimmer. She did it. Swam from Cuba to Key West several years ago. So.
No, I'm good.
Yeah, there's sharks and stuff. No.
I get tired swimming in the pool.
Well, you don't like being in the ocean. There's stuff up under there.
No, I don't. I used to not have a problem with it until, I don't know, I think I was like 15 or something like that. And I went to Hawaii, and over there you can, see, clear through the water. I'm sure people have been to places like that where you can see down in the water. So I'm out in the ocean. I just happened to, got my little goggles on. I stick my head in the water, and I was like, oh my God. There's like all that crazy stuff you see on TV swimming everywhere. I was like, okay, I'm done with this. So, and that was in a place where I could see the stuff. Then I go to something like Myrtle Beach where you can't see nothing. Mm-hmm. And not to mention the fact that I have been to Myrtle Beach in knee-deep water, and a shark swam by me. And I'm like, I'm done. I'm just done.
I'm out.
Yeah. Fortunately, I was with my wife. Yeah, I was with her. I took off running. I didn't even scream shark. I just ran. It's like, stuff. Yeah, it's one of those things where your body reacts before your brain catches up to what's going on. Just took off running. Buddy, no, I'm out. So yeah, don't like it. But anyway, in today's podcast, we're going to be talking about ransomware, recall, and regulations. Lots going on as always, and more and more we're just covering multiple topics because there's no way we can nail down just one. We got lots to cover every single time. So today is going to be one of those days. We've had everything from a settlement to come in recently to Microsoft announcing some things to all kind of just stuff.
Yeah. Well, and we did take a couple of weeks off from recording because you were at a conference. I was down here, and it's like, geez, we get covered up with too many things.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So here we go. First of all, I want to say thanks to those who listen, who support the show. We appreciate it. So a lot of listeners coming in nowadays that are probably new. So if you've never been to our website, go to helpmewithhipaa.com, and you got to spell it with 1 P, 2 A's.
No PP in the HIPAA pool, people.
helpmewithhipaa.com. You'll find out more about Donna and myself and our day jobs. And if you want to hire us for stuff, go in there and do it. So appreciate you. Yeah. All right, let's jump into the HIPAA Say What?
Say what?
Yeah, so I got a listener question from a survey. I got a couple of them, 3 of them. So
let's hit these. One of these.
3 and 1.
All of these were in one. So, but I mean, generally, it's what happens when all the vendors that offer the same service, in this case, document shredding, refuse to sign a BA, which would be a BAA. We have no other options for a vendor. So first of all, that's bad.
Concerning. Yeah. Where are you? I'm going to open up a document shredding company in your area.
All right. And do we just document? We cannot find a vendor that will sign a BAA. What are the general recommendations on checking with BAs on what they are doing to meet their obligations?
Well, if they won't sign a BAA, you're done.
Yeah. It does have very specific guidelines on this that your first thing is you should get a BAA signed. If you cannot, then you try to explain to them why they need one, that they are essentially violating the law if they do this business and don't sign a BAA and enter into one. And then if you cannot, get them to do it, then you should find another vendor. And if there are no other vendors, no other choices that will sign a BAA, then you're supposed to document that, and potentially what you really should do is notify OCR.
Yeah. I think I would do my in-house shredding or something. I just wouldn't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it. I don't know. I know that's a lot, but still.
Now you could document that, but you could choose to just simply document it and say you tried, but particularly document shredding, there have been failures in that case where they're supposed to be shredding the documents and they're just taking them to the landfill and not doing anything extra with it. There have been a variety of problems in that specific industry.
Call your local crematorium, see if they'll let you use the oven for a little bit.
I don't know why I do this with you. But technically, you should get them. One of the times that I've dealt with a BA who will not sign a BAA, I will say, I need you to give me in writing the legal reason that you feel like this doesn't apply to you, so that I can have that for my files to protect me and leave you with your pants down should something go wrong. So there's that. But the other question on general recommendations on checking with them, we have several episodes that we go into details about vendor management, vendor vetting, and all of those kind of things. Put the links to it here. But Vendors Surprised by Vetting is episode 451, and 6 Steps for Vendor Management is episode 317. There's some even older ones. Lord knows what we said back then because it's changed so much. But, at some point we should go and cleanse some of that old stuff because who knows? But that's I think addressing all those questions, all of the statements, and be interested to know what happens, because notifying them, asking for them to give you in writing the legal reason they think the BAA should not be signed and it wouldn't apply to them, but they could still do this work, it'd be good to know.
I can tell you the response they're going to give. I can save you the time. The response is going to be, nobody else has ever asked us to do that.
I know. How many times have we heard that?
It's just,
okay.
Whenever I heard the one that was like, we've got 1,400 MSPs and you're the only one that's ever asked us to do it right. Nobody else ever asked us to do it. Oh my gosh.
You're the only one.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm the problem. Yeah, I'm the problem. Okay.
Yeah. I love that. It's always what you hear, but that's when it's like, okay, but still gonna need that. But I think that closes out all of those. And then we got another question from the surveys that says, would you consider including graphics created from the podcast that I could include in my company compliance newsletter? We don't have time or money to do more free work.
That's in our premium subscription. We just haven't released it yet.
But actually, Krista does the post of the blog post for me, and we greatly appreciate Krista doing that. And she has been using AI to create images for the blog post, and they are based on what we're talking about in the episode. So you are more than welcome to go use the AI generated ones, which are clearly, if you're used to telling the difference, The older ones, we were actually getting licensed to post those from image publications, but the AI ones do not have any licenses. So you could use those graphics. Otherwise, I'm not sure what graphics we could create, but you are welcome to get any of the ones that are on the AI generated ones from the last few months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm looking at the site now just to see. Yeah, the images do pull up, so technically you can grab them from the site.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But so that's the best we can offer.
Yep. But as she said, I probably wouldn't do anything prior to 2024 because those are purchased graphics and it'll probably get you in trouble if you use them.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to snag those, but we did license those.
Yeah.
Just another thing we pay for.
Yeah. Among the many other things we pay for to make this free.
Yeah.
All right. And then our friend George, he sends us an email, some advice from George, and I'm glad he mentioned it because it was on my radar. So I'll just take it and give him credit for it. He says that if you don't already know, you might want to check your LinkedIn settings because they are collecting your data for AI purposes. So it is, by default, it is turned on within your data sharing. So you have to go to your settings underneath your data for data for
privacy.
Generative AI improvement is what it's listed under. Yeah.
It's settings, data privacy, and look for the AI in there.
Yeah. Well, they've actually changed it because now it's settings and data privacy is all one or settings and privacy, I think is what it is. So settings and privacy, you click on it, then you go to data for generative AI improvement, and then it's there.
So it literally says, can LinkedIn and its affiliates use your personal data and content you create on LinkedIn to train generative AI models that create content? Mm-hmm. So there's some good things for that, but take out content I create on, if you were not using personal data, if you were using content that I create on LinkedIn and giving me credit for it, maybe, but I get nothing.
Yeah, I turned mine off. Thanks, George. Turned mine off. I was like, nah, I'm good. But I do appreciate you letting me opt out.
Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate that, George. Really do. Took care of it as soon as I saw it. And I am slow, though.
So speaking of opting out, there's some changes with the Microsoft recall feature. I think recall was recalled, kind of.
Yeah. It's the recall reboot.
Yeah. So fortunately, there was a lot of people who made a lot of noise about the Microsoft recall function that's rolling out where, it takes all these screenshots periodically and captures everything you're doing on your computer because it knows better. And initially there was not a way to turn that off or get rid of it.
Yeah.
And lots of questions about what's happening to this information and where's it going to be going and all this other stuff. So a lot of security experts jumped in and was like, there's a lot of concerns about this and potential privacy risks. And, for you and me, we were like, dude, what are we going to tell healthcare clients? Like,
I know. We were like, this is not good.
Yeah. I already had people going, we need to move away from Windows. I'm like, slow down. Let's don't create lots more problems to fix one.
I know.
Oh boy. So they've made some changes though. Thank goodness.
Yes. Yes, it is now an opt-in experience instead of you can't get out of it. So it's not on by default. You have to go turn it on, which is great. Mm-hmm. Users will be asked whether they want to opt into recall before using the feature. So it's full control. Not one of those, do you want to opt out? Mm-hmm. You have to say yes to opt in, which that's only then becomes a problem for the people that just go, yes.
Next. Yeah. But I wish more things were like that. Like, just let me opt into it instead of discovering I'm already opting in and then having to opt out.
Yeah. That's a thing.
But the sad part about it, there's a couple more things that they did too. But the sad part about it is all three of these things, this is how it should have come out.
I can't believe that they didn't do these from the get-go. I mean, who was thinking?
Yeah. So let's talk about the other two. So there was the opt-in experience. The number two, and this one shocked me actually, the option to delete it.
That was a relief.
Yeah. So you can completely uninstall it.
Oh, they had originally said, I don't know whether it was they hadn't told people how or they had no intentions of it, but we're not going to do that was a potential issue.
Yeah. You still can't remove Internet Explorer, but you can get you can get rid of this.
Yeah. So that's great. Man. That's great.
Yeah. And then the last one, enhanced data security. So now it's going to include encryption. Now, the caveat to that is you have to have a device that has a TPM module in it. And if you're running Windows 11, you probably do.
Yeah.
So another thing about Windows 11 is you should be on Windows 11 by or before October of next year. This is your 1 year countdown. I think it's October 14th of next year, something like that.
All right, then. Yeah. The clock is ticking.
So don't quote me on the date exactly, but I do know it's mid-October of next year. You need to be off of Windows 10 at end of life.
2025. We've been going through putting that on everybody. So that goes on everybody's risk management plan for 2025 is to make sure you're off of all of them. But and the other two security things is it does Windows Hello integration, which is pretty cool. The facial recognition, you can do a PIN, you can do a fingerprint. It's so that it makes sure that only authorized users can get access to the recall images. And then, okay, this virtualization-based security enclave that they've created, but it's where it will store and process in an isolated, secure environment that separates sensitive data from the main operating system. How long before somebody figures out how to get a hold of all of those?
Probably already have. Oh man. Yeah. I don't know. I personally don't see a big benefit of having this, but I'm sure somebody out there might. I think if my kids were using a computer, I'd probably have it turned on.
There's some value, there are some positives to it, and it will actually allow you to use natural language requests to go find the things in there. And so, imagine you guys get a support call and you always get I didn't do anything. Well, really, let me see. What did you do here? So there is some value to that. And they also have this user control thing that it's supposed to limit the tracking where you can exclude apps and websites from being recorded and be able to delete specific snapshots or pause the tracking or turn it on and off.
Yeah. I see this becoming a user monitoring or employee monitoring function. That's what I see this ended up becoming.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's the purpose of it, but I can see that happening.
Yeah, it does. I mean,
we'll see.
That's to me the most valuable thing. And then, of course, they emphasize they do not share recall snapshots with third parties or other users on the same device. Okay.
Is that with their fingers crossed?
Yeah, I know. I'm sure their fingers are behind their backs. I still, in healthcare, would not, maybe, okay, so if you had everything fully secure and, limited who actually gets access to the recall, and I can exclude apps and websites, that's great. But how often do I need to go to a new place, and I've got to manage all that? Who's going to manage those exclusions? How are those going to, there's a lot to figure out there. Even if you were going to use it with these exceptions, great. But somebody's got to deal with it.
I would say wait like a year after it's released, and then let somebody else kick the tires, figure out all the problems with it, and then if it's still surviving, then you can consider it. But I wouldn't do anything with it for a while.
Yeah, you if you're doing it, you're on the bleeding edge, not the cutting edge. You're definitely on the bleeding edge. You want it to be more mainstream before you try this thing with anything important, let's just say. But if you got kids, turn that puppy on.
Sometimes ignorance is bliss, so it's up to you.
Spoken like a true dad. Dad. All those boys. Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't know, though. If I'd had this back in the day, I probably would have got divorced sooner.
She wouldn't have been smart enough, right? Okay. All right.
Anyway, all right. So not to say that HIPAA and spelling HIPAA is not confusing enough, we have a new acronym for you. And it is only one letter different than HIPAA. And this is HISAA.
Yes.
And I'll have to say that when I first saw this, I'm like, Donna fat fingered the keyboard. She completely missed it. There's no such thing as a HISAA. And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute. There is.
Yeah. And I mean, it's literally, two words different than HIPAA. So it's the Health Infrastructure Security and Accountability Act. It's a proposed bill, likely not going anywhere, but, in the environment we're in and the pressures from Change Healthcare. And, we told you, we see these things coming. We know they're coming. But I don't see it going anywhere, but it would then likely could end up being used, brought back to life later.
It gets the conversation started, or at least continues the conversation. That's, typically what I see of these things is by the time it's been, 3, 4, 5 different ones introduced, one of them sticks. Yeah.
And there's been some other things, floated before, but this is the first big one since the Change Healthcare one that I've seen. And it literally has mandatory cybersecurity standards, minimums. It establishes minimum security requirements for covered entities and business associates with enhanced standard for critical entities. Now, I like that they used when I saw the term enhanced, immediately I thought about, you remember how they divided the CPGs, essential, enhanced. And as we said, I would wager that somebody, maybe that is in alignment on purpose. The next one was interesting, that it's annual audits and stress tests requires organizations to go annual independent cybersecurity audits and conduct stress tests to ensure they can properly recover after cyber incident.
Yeah, that was very interesting.
And that you're going to have certified people doing that. So then we're going to have to go get this whatever certification required. Yeah. And
you just created a whole new industry.
Yeah, well, and today, again, this is another example of where it's focused on hospitals and health systems and doesn't worry about all of the small businesses that are, the practices, the independent practices, the small 1, 2, the dentist will nut up over this if they actually ever considered it. And then the business associates, so small businesses like us, you would have to pay for this. And we do everything we can to keep our costs down already. But, anyway, but we keep our costs down, but we also make sure we're trying to do it right. So we try to be reasonable.
I was going to say, you know what that means for small entities. That means that somebody's going to run a tool, give you a report, and there you go.
Yep. That will be your audit and stress test. To make sure you can recover, though, that's the part that they're going to have to address the size issues. And we get into that a little bit more in just a second. But
it is interesting they limit it to recovering from cyber incidents, not recovering from just general incidents. Like, I mean, we're learning within the throes of all the hurricane fallout that we've got here in the Southeast.
Yeah.
We've got clients that's still not online, and it's been over a week.
Yeah. And don't know when
they can't see patients. Yeah. They can't see patients. They've got, some of them still don't have power. Some of them have power. They still don't have internet.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to one of my clients last week, and they were like, we're trying to figure out how to even communicate with patients. We don't have an ability to do that. Can't get into anything. Phone systems are down. Internet's down. People are just coming to the door, knocking on the door. It's a mess. And
even if you could, some of the patients aren't reachable.
No. And it's funny because I said, what's in your instant response plan? And she said, ain't none of that crap working. She said, everything we had on paper is none of it's working.
Wait, we've heard this before.
I was like, yeah, that's kind of what I expected you to say, but I do appreciate you having a plan. You had a plan.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, when's the last time you looked at it? She's like, I don't want to talk about this anymore.
I know exactly what you mean there. And we'll say, this probably isn't enough. You need to have more. Well, we'll do that later.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Yeah. Later's past.
Mm-hmm. This is another one of those things where it's always too much until the day it's not enough.
Yeah. So,
unfortunately.
Yeah. And I think that's a big, important piece that I don't know. Anyway, I think that it's unfortunate that these will be the learning cases, that we could do case studies in what happened in Western North Carolina, Tennessee, all up along the Georgia, South Carolina border, the Augusta area. I mean, there's, Helene hit hard, and I'm sitting here in the Keys tracking Milton, So hopefully the forecast is right, and we're not even in the cone of error still, So that's stay out of the way.
I got a friend that has an MSP in Tampa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
yes.
Not good.
Yeah. TikTok. Yeah. I mean, we're getting tons of rain and all of that, but we're good. So, but moving on to the next one, I think is going to be essential to making a difference. And this is something we've covered many, many times. Until leadership is forced to deal with it, you're never going to have the proper level of security. You're just not.
Mm-hmm.
And this bill includes executive accountability, where people at the I am responsible for the organization level, top executives, not just top executives, must certify compliance with cybersecurity requirements, and severe penalties are falsifying these certifications, similar to the SOX requirements. That would be, the end of most of the failures right there.
Yeah. Well, that would be one less thing we have to start fussing about. Because how many times? Well, every time we're like, you got to get buy-in from the top. You got to get it from the top. It's got to start at the top. I mean, every time we have a discussion about it, it's like until you get, the brass on board, all that would be gone. We would solve that problem pretty quickly.
Yeah, I have a course that is in the boot camp in the Cardin Club. There's a course that takes you through defining your program, whether it's risk-based, compliance-based, how you define that, how do you explain it, and even has an example deck for you to present to leadership what you want to do,
Mm-hmm.
just to get the buy-in on the program as a whole, not any
Mm-hmm.
specific things. So I think that will, unless that's included in whatever they do, we're not going to be leaps and bounds better until that
Right.
kind of requirement is there. Then the next few things, they got to do with the money. And great that they are proposing $800 million for rural and urban safety net hospitals for upfront cybersecurity investments, $500 million for hospitals to adopt stronger cybersecurity measures. Not one mention of the independent practices, the single docs or group practices, the business associates like me and you. Not a mention. Nothing.
Nope.
Nothing.
You get nothing.
Nothing, honey. But they're saying that HHS must audit. So the audit program was never a you must audit. And they talked about getting it started, but they must audit at least 20 high priority entities annually.
Yeah, but the next part's interesting.
Yeah, there. And have the power to levy larger fines, removing current caps on penalties.
Woo-wee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the current cap is, so what is it, 2.3 million or 2.1? I don't know. It's over 2 million now.
Yeah.
It's not 1.5, but yeah. So we're talking about removing those caps. Like, let's just keep on counting. I don't know, man.
Or at least raise the caps. I don't know. But, after they basically were told you can't penalize anybody for anything, the $250 fine is what it feels like to some of these groups.
Right.
It's insurance will pay it. Don't worry about it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But that's a big piece that's been in the discussion no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is the one that we had to look some stuff up on.
Yeah.
I am pleased that I can now work with ChatGPT as my research assistant to do.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, so this last piece here is user fees.
Yeah, you say it so I don't get blamed for saying it.
Yeah, it supports the HHS enforcement efforts through a user fee on regulated entities. And I'm like, what?
Oh, no.
I mean, as a business associate, I'm a regulated entity. Now you're going to charge me a fee so that you can enforce stuff? Like, okay, so Donna, you had to go digging to figure out a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so, according to the HISAA,
that's going to be such a mess if that were to stick.
I know. HISAA, it would apply to covered entities and business associates. And the fee is calculated on each entity's pro rata share of national health expenditures. The total fees collected will support the oversight and enforcement activities and are capped at $40 million in 2026, $50 million in 2027, and it gets adjusted for inflation as it goes up. So we already have nothing for the smaller ones like us, nothing for independent practices to implement these minimum standards, and we're going to have to also pay these user fees is the thing. But then we were like, okay, let's go back to this pro rata share of national health expenditures. Okay. So then we say, okay, what is national health expenditures? It is the total spending on healthcare services, insurance, and related activities within the U.S. economy. This will encompass all healthcare-related expenses from hospitals and medical service to health insurance administration. Okay. Then we said, okay, so how much was that in recent years? And so the 2022 number, they had approximately $4.4 trillion. So, I don't know about you, but I don't think they can go small enough.
They'll send you an invoice for 32 cents.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, I got nothing.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, I see what they're trying to do, but like you said, I think there will be other iterations of this coming out, but it gives them things, I think they're throwing stuff against the wall sometimes. Let's see what we can get to stick. And if nothing else, let's at least put a, stake in the ground for where to start from to keep having these conversations. But I do think at some point you're going to have something that is similar to these things. There will be mandatory cybersecurity standards. There will be auditing. There will be punishment and all that. I think it's coming.
Yeah, I think all of this will eventually come. It's just how we get there. But this creates the framework for the discussion, at least. And the number one thing I see in there that's missing is having anything to do with either you're going to exempt the small businesses, which is not going to help, because then they become a risk to the bigger health systems. I mean, we hear all the time about such and such, small office tied into the hospital system now created a problem. So we can't do that. That's not going to work. So either they have to figure out how to help, or, that, and do not call it HISAA.
Yeah. That's so funny.
Yeah.
And then, and so far, our last story here, we mentioned that there has been a new enforcement action came out. So let's go through that, because we'll, as always, look at what happened and what OCR decided to do about it. And there's always some learning moments wrapped up into these.
So, I mean, they really didn't go through a lot. It's Cascade Eye and Skin Centers. So it's an interesting combo.
Yeah.
That I can't say I see all the time. They had a ransomware attack in 2017, and there was a 291,000 individuals were exposed. And they settled with OCR $250,000. Please, let's make this go away, and a 2-year corrective action plan. This is one signed in June, so we're at least seeing them a little bit sooner than we have been when they make the announcement. And of course, they didn't conduct a risk analysis and weren't doing a review of system activity, and And that's where we say that we're seeing this risk analysis thing start to come into play, which is why we've upped our game on risk analysis, and we were already doing a pretty intense one. So you want to hit the Melanie Fonts Rayner quote for this one. This is where you always pay attention now, people. Pay attention.
Yeah. This one's a little longer than most. So
yeah.
She says, cyber criminals continue to target the healthcare sector with ransomware attacks. Healthcare entities that do not thoroughly assess the risk to EPHI and regularly review the activity within their electronic health record system leave themselves vulnerable to attack and expose their patients to unnecessary risk of harm. Ensuring the confidentiality of EPHI is critical to protect health information privacy and integral to our national security in the healthcare sector. OCR urges all healthcare entities to take the essential precautions and stay vigilant to safeguard their systems from cyber attacks.
Yeah.
So I like how she tied it into a national security problem.
Yeah.
So
can't get health care, lots of things start falling apart. especially in a crisis.
Yep.
So the 250 we talked about, the corrective action plan, and OCR will monitor it for 2 years, as we've said, and you just don't want to be those people. They have to do the as expected list. We know what this is going to have.
Mm-hmm. Conduct an accurate and thorough risk assessment and determine the potential. I mean, I think they have like a drop down menu. They just select.
Yeah, they should, right? Yeah, you do your SRA, your associated risk management plan, develop a written process to regularly review records of information systems such as audit logs, access reports, and security incident tracking reports. Develop policies and procedures for responding to an emergency or other occurrence that damages systems that contain EPHI. Now, that one is interesting. Or other occurrence. Written procedures to assign a unique name or number for identifying and tracking user identity. So, hey, everybody can sign in. Everybody knows that's password 1, that's password 2.
Yeah. So let me hit on that for a second, because I get this pushback sometimes where people say, I've got individual logins for the cloud-based EHR, so I can just have everybody logging into my computer using, the same user account. And so, no, but here it is. You have to have a procedure to assign a unique name or number for identifying and tracking user identity in its systems that contain EPHI. So the word contain EPHI, access to, and like you and I have always said, it is very difficult for your computer to not have EPHI on it, even if you have cloud-based EHR, because there's all types of documents, scans, PDFs, all over the place.
Yep. So, note to self: if you're not doing that, you need to document why you think it's okay. And then, of course, reviewing and revising written policies and procedures to comply with the HIPAA privacy and security rules. So, I was recently doing an assessment where it was new. It was like the first time through, so they haven't seen it, but it frequently would answer, well, do you have policies and procedures for this? Well, yeah, here's what we do. It's not written down, though. Okay, well, then you don't have written policies and procedures. You literally said, well, just everybody knows what to do is not a written policy and procedure. And why we do, and I still enjoy some of the stuff we do in the boot camp of it, demonstrating why written policies and procedures should be done a certain way, and they're not as easy as, hey, just do this. And so it's interesting. But they did say that they recommend everybody do these things, basically, but their list has not changed dramatically on what would be the important things. And this gets into, you should be paying attention, because the I didn't know thing, it's hard to say if they're publishing these kind of lists. And review all vendor and contractor relationships to ensure business associate agreements are in place as appropriate and address breach security incident obligations. That is huge. That last little bit. Well, the first part, we just talked about that. Didn't we start the whole episode with this? Integrate risk analysis and management into business processes conducted regularly and with new technologies and business operations are planned. Not the, we did it 3 years ago, or we do it every 2. Stuff's happening too quickly these days.
Yeah. I do appreciate the fact that it said when things are planned instead of, Yeah, we've already done it. We've already rolled it out. Now let's do a risk assessment on it.
Yes. No.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You plan, it's part of the planning process. Ensure audit controls are in place to record and examine information system activity and implement regular review of information system activity. Don't just log them.
Yeah. I'm shaking my head because I know this doesn't happen
Well,
that
and
much.
yeah, and it's hard. It's, we've talked about the SIMs and how expensive they are. And
yeah, but they are coming down.
yeah,
That's one thing we've noticed a lot is the SIM products are coming down far enough in price now, especially with cloud-based SIMs.
yeah.
They are now affordable. They're still not cheap, but they're very affordable. And the thing I like about it is like some of the ones we are now using, because they're cloud-based, they also can be deployed in a small environment because you're just paying a licensing fee, and you may have a small device to put on site depending on what kind of logs you're gathering. But used to, like, the very minimum, you're talking a few $1,000s, and sometimes a few $1,000s a month,
right,
is what you're doing now. I mean, I've seen them sub $100 a month.
Yeah.
So they've come down tremendously in price.
Yeah, and that's huge.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the place where we got to get a lot better. And next is utilize MFA, which we have talked about ad nauseum. Encrypt EPHI against unauthorized access to EPHI. Yet again, we need to point out two important things. If it's encrypted, but you have logged into it, it is no longer encrypted. It got decrypted. So having it encrypted does not matter if somebody's logging in as you. Doesn't matter. There are ways where you can do field level encryption, and that's a whole new ballgame. But nothing's in that's not something that's happening everywhere for a long time, if it ever does. The other thing is having encrypted email doesn't protect you if people log in to your email and get access to your email and download it. That encryption doesn't play into it. So just say, well, we don't have to worry about email. We have encrypted email. No. So anyway, incorporate lessons learned from incidents into the overall security management process, which, we did an episode a while back called Always BOLO, Always Be on the Lookout. That's exactly what we're talking about. And then provide training specific to organization and job responsibilities on a regular basis. Reinforce workforce members' critical role in protecting privacy and security. Now, the important specific thing there, specific to organization and job responsibilities on a regular basis. Not generic training, but specific training for your responsibilities and reinforcing how important it is you're part of the solution or you're part of the problem. There's nothing in between.
So this brings to mind, I did a presentation for our local Chamber of Commerce last week, and I'm in a room of 30, 35 business folks. And I started out and I said, how many of you folks are in cybersecurity? And one person raised their hand. And I know this one person is not a technical person, but she knew why I was asking. Out of all those business owners, one person raised their hand. And I was like, no, you are all on the cybersecurity team. Every single one of you. You either for us or you against us.
Yeah.
But it's still a topic that people haven't grasped yet, that they are part of the cybersecurity team.
Yeah, I think we need to start all of our, when we do our speaking engagements, we're going to now start all of them with, okay, how many people here are on the cybersecurity team? Every single time. That's what we need to do. I think that's a great idea. Oh, wait, never mind. I didn't say that, David.
Y'all heard it here first.
Well, we got all of that done.
Yep. So covered a lot for everybody to think about, go back and do, and at least consider.
Yeah.
At least consider.
Yeah. There's a lot in there. Break it into pieces. You probably need to go back and listen to each piece.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, we'll be back with more madness next week.
Absolutely. We already got stuff lined up for it.
Yeah, we do.
All right, folks, remember that is our show for today. So share this out to folks on your social media site, to wherever you review our podcast. Leave us a review. Let us know how awesome Donna is. We appreciate it. Remember, for Donna and myself, the HIPAA nor HISAA is about compliance. It's about patient care.
Help me with HIPAA. Let's get it right. Protect your patients day and night. Donna and David, the experts on your side. Help me with HIPAA. Let's get it right.
You've been listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, hosted by Donna Grindle and David Sims. The show created to help you with HIPAA. For more information or to ask us a question, visit our website at helpmewithhipaa.com. Neither Donna Grindle or David Sims are attorneys, and they do not offer binding legal advice concerning regulatory compliance. The information in this podcast should not be relied upon or construed as legal advice in any way. Consult your attorney for legal advice concerning compliance with HIPAA regulations.